This program is sponsored by Pulse Cellular. Use promo code RD10 at checkout and save 10% forever.
Hey guys, Mike from the Recording Den, and today we are going to talk microphones 101. I know there are a myriad of microphone manufacturers out there, but what you guys need to know that there are basically three types of microphones. And what are they? So now we talked about the different microphones. So what are the differences between the different microphones? Let's start out with the dynamic, which is like one of the most common ones because you use them pretty much all the time in live. We use them a lot here in the studio. But the one thing that these dynamics do, they are able to handle loud sound sources very well, like drums, guitar cabinets. In a live venue, they're very good because you have to really get up close to those microphones. They're not terribly sensitive, so we always say, like a Shure SM58, those singers, they have to eat the microphone. They have to keep it up very close, because every time I move away from that, every inch I move away from that capsule, I'll drop about 6 decibels in volume. So think about it, 3 inches, it's a negative 24 dB difference. That's pretty substantial. Now the second one that we use, and this is pretty much my go-to in the studio, obviously everything will change depending on genre and everything that we're doing there, but are the condenser microphones. The condenser microphones are very accurate microphones. The element that they use is it's very lightweight, so it tends to be lightning fast. And in order to use them, you need what we call phantom power, which is basically a 48-volt power source to actually power the microphone so you could actually use them. Now, I use them on just about everything. Drum overheads, vocals, you could use them on guitars, acoustic guitars especially. You could just pretty much use them on anything. You know, if we're doing voiceovers, always grabbing, you know, for the most part, a condenser microphone. And the third type of microphones are ribbon microphones. Now, why are they called ribbon? Because the element that's actually in there is basically, it's like a ribbon. They usually corrugate it and suspend it between 2 posts. And those they could either be what we call active or passive, meaning that depending on the microphone, you could actually use the 48-volt power supply on there, the phantom power, or you don't use it. So you got to be careful with ribbons. Otherwise, if you apply phantom power to a non-powered ribbon, you're going to fry the ribbon. So they're very good. They actually hear sound like the human ear hears sound. So at times condensers might get brittle, they might get harsh. Ribbons are not like that. Back in the old days with Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole, they always used the big ribbon microphones. So they're really nice. They just big and full-bodied. I like them a lot, especially on guitars, on brass. They sound really good. But you could use them on, here again, on just about anything. They could be used on vocals. They could be used on drums. They could be used on guitars. So there again, it all depends on the sound that you're actually looking to get. Now with all these microphones, they're going to have a specific polar pattern. What is a polar pattern? Well, each microphone that you have is going to be able to pick up the sound source in a certain direction. For the most part, I mean, we get a little bit more complicated, but for the most part, there are 3 polar patterns. You have cardioid, you have bidirectional, or what they call figure of 8, and you have omnidirectional. Now with the cardioid polar pattern, which is a lot of your microphones, they will pick up from the front of the microphone. Depending on the microphone, they could either be front address or side address, depending on if I'm holding the microphone this way or the microphone this way. But still, that will be a cardioid polar pattern pickup, where it only picks up from the front, and the further you get around to the back of the microphone, you're going to get the most rejection. Now that's good. If I have other instruments in a room and I'm doing a live recording, I will get most of the sound coming from the front and I will get rejection in the back. So you're not going to get as much spill in the microphone. If I'm live on stage, if I have a monitor in front of me on the floor, well, guess what? I'm not going to get feedback issues because, well, it's getting rejected in the back, but it's be able to pick up everything in the front. Second thing, the second polar pattern, which is the figure of 8, a lot of times it's reserved for ribbon microphones. I know there are a couple of ribbon microphones that actually have a cardioid polar pickup pattern, but the ribbon microphones are most common to have a bidirectional. But they will pick up from the front and the back of the microphone. And the null points, the rejection points, are going to be the side. And on a figure 8 pattern, it's pretty dead. So you could put something close up there and you're really not going to hear it. So you could get pretty creative with using a figure 8 pattern. The third one that we talked about is the Omni. Well, Omni means pretty much all around. So you're going to get an all-around pickup. So I can stick one microphone in the room and it will hear everything that is in that room. That's very good for, for whatever you want to do. You want to get more room tone in there. You only have one mic to do a recording. Guess what? We could pop that in there. I've recorded choirs around one microphone. So how do you balance that? Well, you move back. No, you're not loud enough. You move a little bit closer. So you have to balance everything around that one microphone. So guys, in another episode, we're going to delve into things a little bit deeper and talk about mic placement and talk about mic selection. So depending on what I'm recording, it's going to depend on what microphone I choose and where do I put that thing. So don't forget to leave your comments, leave your questions down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Again, I'm Mike from Recording Den. Thanks for watching.
Right at the Mic is sponsored by Pulse Cellular. Get the best in wireless with premium high-speed data plans with Pulse Cellular. A single line with unlimited talk, text, and 50 gigs of high-speed data is just $65. Power your family of 4 for just $180 a month. And it's month-to-month. No contracts, no credit checks, and no cancellation fees. Be sure to use Recording Den's promo code RD10 and get an additional 10% off your monthly bill and other qualifying products forever. That's pulsecellular.com. Use promo code RD10, that's the number 10, and save 10% forever.